me
somebody
and Pat
tell
both
her.
over here growling.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm growling and he
I
growls.
apologize, Herschel said, excuse me. Yeah,
Trying to see
my
who's
meeting
mom.
today was just all messed up. We had like 5 and then 9:30 and then nothing more, so.
Trying to see who's gonna growl more.
I could use it to skip a few meals, just saying.
Fasting, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, I have 6:30, guys, so. We're recording, Mr. Lyon?
We are recording.
Very good. So we will call the regular scheduled meeting, thank you. Call the regular scheduled meeting of the Maumelle Planning Commission for October 24, 2024, to order for this evening. We have announcements from staff.
Yes, commissioners, as you can see, we have the main two announcements. We did file the reserve at Country Club phases 2 and 3. If you go out there, they are not finished with construction yet, but they did put up a performance bond to allow the plat to be filed. If you'll review the Planning Commission schedule for 2025, that was included in your packets. And then finally, as you noted when you sat down, Secretary Ramsey has resigned effective immediately. We have already got with the city clerk, who is seeking to have November 18th be the day the council will appoint a new commissioner for that position, and they're taking appointments right now. Also, just a note to help us with transcribing the meetings, make sure you speak directly into the microphone. That will greatly help me and Scott when we get the minutes done. And that is all of our minutes, or all of our announcements.
Very good, very good. Thank you so much. So, first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the September 26, 2024 meeting. The minutes were included in your packet. Any comments or corrections necessary? Hearing none, the chair will entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the September 26, 2024 minutes.
Is here a second?
Second.
Hearing first and second, we'll now act on the approval of the September 26, 2024 minutes. All those in favor of approval say yes.
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 All those opposed, motion passes. I do not have any comment cards on on non-agenda items. I see you came in late. Did you have a comment card, ma'am?
Pardon?
Did you have a comment card? Very good. So I don't have any comment cards on non-agenda items. So we will open the public hearing. First item is under old business for CAU 24-4, which is a code amendment to a drainage ordinance. This was put out for discussion a little bit, pulled back. An amendment to 70-139 regarding the drainage facility design and the lot drainage. So that is being brought before us for Scott, our Director of Planning is bringing it before us for action this evening. So, Scott, are you taking the discussion?
Yes, sir. And just for clarification on the PC report that we put out, looks like that there was a page missing in between, so I apologize for that. But there's a copy of the memo that has everything included in it. So I'll just kind of go through. We brought this forward the last month, and there were questions from developers wanting better wording to clarify on what we were speaking of in terms of the floodway. The amendments that we made to this came from the City of Conway's drainage plan that I was more familiar with. So the wording is better in line with defining where that storm flow easement that we're looking for should go. I will say that in speaking with, I guess, the chair, there may be some refining that we may want to do within the document. So we may want to carry it forward one more month, but I'll just kind of go through and share with you the main changes. So you've got, of course, I crossed out the provisions in section B1 and crossed out the area that I had added to that and made its own section, section 7, which speaks specifically to dedicated flowage path or floodway that will accommodate a 100-year frequency storm. In that, and I'm not gonna read through the entire thing. If there's any questions on that, we can talk to it. Also added, number 8, an easement of adequate width to accommodate the required floodway shall be provided on the plat. The easement shall clearly identify the easement as a 100-year floodway, and it takes care of wording dealing with no reshaping or structures in that to impede that flow. The other changes you'll find in number 2, lot drainage section 7139E1 through 4. We added under the single-family residential home builder shall, at the time of building the permit application, submit the plot plan information, but this individual lot drainage plan shall conform to the subdivision lot drainage plan as described in the subsection or as required by city staff. Basically, when a house is being built, sometimes it is difficult to get all the drainage to go to the street or a drainage easement. So sometimes we have to make exceptions to that. And then one thing that I did add, and I spoke to one of the developers about this, and he didn't have an issue with it under number 3. The standard height above the finished ground once a house is built is a house has to be 6 inches above that finished ground. I added in a minimum of 12 inches above the finished elevation grade for lots adjacent to the 100-year floodway easement or storm flow easement, whatever we want to call that. That's in the houses that I experienced the flooding. Had that 6 inches been applied, they probably would not have gotten flooded. So just a few inches makes a big impact. And then number 4, we added all lots shall be provided with adequate drainage and shall be graded to drain surface water away from the foundation and towards a drainage facility or easement. And then the swells and lot drains should be used to direct stormwater towards the drainage facilities or easements and be designed to prevent drainage to adjacent properties when possible. So the main changes from the last time is on that adding that 12 inches above finished elevation grade for lots that's in that pathway, and then number 7 and number 8 under B1. That's a significant addition, but again, it's wording directly from the city of Conway. And of course, I did have concerns back when I worked there with the wording of a floodway. And Chairman, you may want to speak to that.
Sure. Well, and I missed subcommittee, guys, and I apologize about that. So I prepared for the meeting today, and just been full transparency. So, but I am prepared. I talked with Scott today, and I called him. I said I'm gonna recommend that we defer this one more month. And the reason is that there's a floodway in the engineering world or realm, or even floodplain manager realm, is very specific. It's a FEMA term. Everybody relates to it and understands it, and it's not the definition that we're trying to incorporate here. So floodway in the FEMA standards is within a floodplain, and it is the area within that floodplain that's designated, typically of no development, and it conveys the storm to a specific depth. In most cases, it's a foot. So that's been well defined, and everybody accepts that and understands it. So if you would ask the engineer on the street about floodway, and he understands about storm, and Josh can probably tell you, he associates with that as well too. So we need to probably remove that word because it is very well defined in other places. We need to be very careful about calling things a flood versus a storm. I think what Scott's trying to convey here is this needs to be, we're conveying a 100-year storm event, we're not conveying the 100-year flood event. They're two different, they're defined technically differently, and we need to be cautious about that and how we use it, or it could just be misconstrued. And we're calling it a floodway easement. It's not that. We're going to have to come up with a 100-year. We're going to have to come up with something a little bit different, or call it something and then define it in the code. So I volunteered for Scott to give this to me in Word. I'll go through it and make a pass as far as cleaning up the technicality confusion that I believe exists, or making my attempt and then distribute that back through staff and through our city attorney and let them go back through it. But my attempt is just to clean up what I think should be done. I think Conway should do the same thing for that matter. So I'd had the same comments if I was sitting on their commission and they brought it forward. So based upon that, I would ask for a tabling of this action item, which is the code amendment to the drainage ordinance. I would say until the next regular scheduled meeting, which I know is a short week, a little bit, but and then I'll get through that. I'll ask Scott to send it to me, and I'll give that to him. I can't copy everybody because it's FOIA, so we can't really do that. But I'll give it to him, and then he'll distribute it back out once it's cleaned up.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
question.
Mhm.
So if I'm understanding you, then we will define a term to use versus use of floodway.
Correct.
Okay. And then you made a comment about the 100-year flood versus a 100-year storm. So the storm comes first, then the flood. But in my experience here, they do call it a 100-year flood because I know a couple of years ago, the big flood around here. So can we define, it's to me more important to talk about the storm, you're right, because that's first.
Yeah, well, they're two independent, like when we had the 2019 flood here, for instance, we did not receive a 100-year storm event here.
Okay, okay.
So that
Okay.
event had to do with the release of a bunch of
Of the-
water in Oklahoma.
Yes,
And the Corps of Engineers and how they
so
regulated.
they are different.
They are
Okay.
different.
They stand alone.
Yeah, a little Googling and a little bit, it's,
Okay.
yeah.
No, thank you.
You can see that.
Okay.
So it's a 100-year storm.
Okay,
We even kind of get away from frequency to some extent because it's defined. So, but I'll work through it and propose it, and that way we can clean it up, make it a little better than where it is, because we're muddling two things together that aren't the same.
okay, no, thank you.
And any other comments?
So, Mr. Chair, I guess the motion would be to table it to the November 21st Planning Commission meeting.
I can get it done by then. I think we can. Well, I think Councilor always likes to have a time period, so, so we'll do it. I like schedules too and deadlines. I work better like that too as well, so, that'll put me, I'll get this to Scott on the revision, and then it'll come before you for discussion at subcommittee, which I think is all moved up a week. Is that right?
Yeah,
Is that
so
right, Jason?
the way this month fell, being the 24th, next Thursday's the 31st, so we actually have an extra week that we typically don't have
Oh,
between
okay.
the October and November meetings. So October 31st will be the application deadline, and then November 7th, or 7th will be the subcommittee, and then November 21st will be the planning commission.
Even though that the 7th is the first Thursday of the month?
Correct. With November, we always move it up a week, from the 2nd and 4th to the 1st and 3rd for November, and also for December due to the holidays.
Yeah, because City Hall is closed on the 28th, which is the normal time to have Planning Commission.
So I don't have a problem, it just makes sure my comments and correct context. I don't have a problem with the context of the language and what it's achieving, just a little bit of wordsmithing to clean it up. So there's not going to be any substantive changes to what we're trying to achieve, just a refinement of some terminology.
To be consistent on the terminology will help everybody.
Well, sure, yeah.
So, you need that motion?
Yes, sir, I need a motion to table this until the next regular scheduled meeting.
I move to defer coding adjustment 24-4 code amendment to drainage ordinance.
We'll
To
table it.
Table it?
Table it, yes, sir.
Table it to the November 14th.
Is that right, Jason? 21st.
21st, thank you, 21st,
6:30.
6:30.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank
Hearing
you.
the first and second, we'll now act on tabling the code amendment to the drainage ordinance to the next regular scheduled meeting, which is November 21st. For this one, all those in agreement say yes?
Yes.
Yes. All those opposed, no. Thank you very much, appreciate that. Okay, that closes out our old business, and we'll move into new business, which is the discussion of SDP 24-4. This is the conditional use that came before us on the Entergy variance. It looks like our staff And attorney has been doing some diligence, and digging up some archives from somewhere, and, after I read through it, so, they have some news to share with us, it appears, regarding this. If you guys remember, the last month meeting, I actually suggested that he come back and suggest the variance on the private street, public street, so he didn't get hung with the street improvements, but you'll see from discussion this evening, there was a little bit of discovery there, and I think staff wanted to share that with us.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Commissioners, we talked about this at the subcommittee meeting. I know we were short of commission members there. So doing some due diligence on this, reading our memo, we began researching the development and timeline on Four Paws Lane with the development of the Canine Bakery that's currently at 100 Four Paws. It's since been sold. It was sold back in June to a new owner. This plat, and it had the platted note for lots 1A and 1B of the Maumelle Industrial Park East. Upon further research, evaluation, and also speaking with the city attorney, we contend that Four Paws was built to city standards at the time for industrial development. The plat note regarding Four Paws being built to city standards prior to the development of Lot 1A was included in error on the plat. And the reason for that is I've provided minutes from 3 different meetings in 2006 and 7, with the main reference being to the minutes from April of 2007, in which a variance request was heard and denied regarding only building Four Paws Lane to within 50 to 75 feet of the property line. The variance was denied, and the road was built to the property line, and the plat note was not removed, even though it was built to city standards and it got filed that way. So we recommend they proceed with conditions approved in September, which recommended the final approval of the road condition by the City Public Works and Fire Department prior to a certificate of occupancy. With that said, so January 2006, I'll go through this one fairly quick. This was the first time this came up. Maumelle East Industrial Park, replat of Track 1. Just short and skinny of it. Originally, they came in with 3 lots, and the plan was to extend Lewis Nelson Drive north further. The developer at the time did not want to have to build the road, and so instead of lots 1A through 1C, they consolidated 1B or 1A and 1C into 1A, and that's how we get the kind of weird looking lot that we have that Entergy wants to build on. And then you'll see Claudia's Canine Cuisine, site plan, landscape plan. And here's the minutes from that as you read over. So I'm going to go ahead and proceed on. The next meeting found was March 23rd, 2006. Again, it's regarding Claudia's Cuisine, site plan, landscape plan, and that's where we talk about Four Paws a little bit, and we go from there. And then finally, the major development I found was from the April 26, 2007 minutes. Again, it's under Claudia's Canine Cuisine. As you see, number C1, variance request, complete construction of Four Paws Drive, and then a revised site plan. So, reading through this, let me get to it, I'm sorry. You can read through it. Mark Redder, Apollo Engineering, representing the owner of Claudia, stated that the last 50 feet of Four Paws would not be used and would be a substantial cost to his client. Mr. Neri stated, who was the planning director at the time, originally Four Paws was to be built from property line to property line, then a revision was filed and the commission granted a variance that Four Paws would not be completed until track 1A was developed. This is another variance. And Mr. Redder stated, there is a plat note on the final plat stating that track 1A can't be developed until Four Paws is completed. So reading these, the plat was filed with that note because Four Paws at the time, they did not plan on extending all the way. This new variance came in where they did not want to have to build Four Paws. And if you think about plats, typically for everything, you have to build it property line to property line for an approved plat. They came in with the variance request to be able to build Four Paws only to what amounted to the end of the loading docks, roughly 50 to 75 feet short of the property line, which would from 1B and 1A. Commissioner Wyeth stated this. He was concerned this variance has been and will set a bad precedence for anyone who wants to build a road because of the cost. He said a variance is based on a hardship that is unique to the property, not based on financial issues. With that, they denied the variance. As such, the road had to be built the full extent to the property line, which when you look at imagery and GIS files, the road was built all the way to the property line. And I spoke with Mr. Redder, and he stated it does look like it was an error, or it was just never corrected. It was filed prior to this variance request, but then there was never a corrected plat that took the note off. So speaking with our city attorney, we feel that the road was built to city standards at the time for industrial standards, and as such, we feel that the condition that we put on the conditional use of it needs to meet fire approval of the fire department, which is the 75,000 pounds, and also Public Works final approval prior to a C of O being issued. That's why we wanted to make sure it was done post-construction, not pre-construction, due to the heavy traffic that's expected. With that, that's our staff discussion on it, and happy to answer any questions.
And Chairman Johnson, is that
Yeah,
your name in there? That's almost 20 years ago, isn't
I'm
it?
worried. I already said, I was talking to Josh earlier about a project I did 20 years ago. Commissioner Wyeth was a very good guy. I don't know it's been a while since I've seen his name, and he's passed. He was a good commissioner, a very good commissioner. Well, very good. Thanks for the homework. I mean, you just took a dive, man. That's a lot of reading to see that. I guess my only question is that are they going to file? It was a conditional use, so are they going to file amended plat to take the note off? Is that going to be a recommendation to them? They could.
It's not a requirement of the conditional
Right.
use.
I know.
I think through Jason's sleuthing, we figured out why it was on the plat. It was put on the plat because they were expecting to get the variance that they were asking for. So they wanted the plat note to give notice to whoever else was going to buy that, hey, you're going to have to finish up this road. But the planning commission said, no, you're going to have to finish up the road, Mr. Redder. And they just forgot to take it off. So no, I don't think we're requiring them to file an amended plat, no.
And I would say that the intent of the plat has been met because the road has been built. So even though that plat note is on there, the road has been built to standards, so it meets the intent of it anyway.
And also, if you note, I didn't talk about it here, but the previous city attorney, Ms. Davis, stated the city does not get involved with private contracts, but the plat note is notice to any future buyer about 4 paws. The plat note will show up in a title search.
So staff is recommending no action on this, just for the minutes. This has been stated that the city has stated that the road meets city standards all the way to the end. So the intent of that plat note has been met. That lot owner does not have to do any further improvements.
Understood.
Do you need a recommendation from us?
There's no action required. They're just bringing us up to speed. So thank you. Any other questions before we move on to the next item? Everybody okay with that? All right. No action required. We'll move to SUB 24-15, which is the Church of Maumelle, the preliminary development plan. So we have proposed church whose the plat was approved last month here at the commission level. And now he's got the preliminary development plan prepared for us to review in our packet this evening. So we have 3 action items to act on. We'll have the development plan, the landscape plan, and commercial building design. Each one will be handled by separate action. So who's carrying the item tonight for staff?
Does all 3 go to city council?
The first item is a recommendation, city council. Items 2 and 3 stay here with the planning commission.
That's right.
As Mr. Chairman noted, last month the Planning Commission approved the land use amendment to go from from SUR to institutional. It is currently working its way also through the city council process. It had second reading this past Monday. The third and final reading will be November 4th. And if the preliminary development plan is recommended for approval tonight, it will then go to council, and since it is only a resolution, it only needs 1 reading, so they would both pass or be approved or denied at the same meeting, to put it on time. So, Commissioners, as you have in front of you, and it was also in your packet, the applicant provided a site plan, which, because it is a PCD, it is a preliminary development plan that includes all components of the site plan, as well as the applicant has provided some drainage, utilities, and utility plan. If you'd like, I can just speak on each item individually, or I can talk about all three at once. What's the pleasure of the commission?
Let's take them one at a time because it
Okay.
requires separate action,
Okay.
so we'll hear each
So-
one separately.
With the preliminary development plan, the proposal it's a 2.74 acre piece of property that's vacant, lightly wooded, sits adjacent to residential. So the analysis, the applicant's project is for a proposed church. The current zoning of PCD would allow a more intensive use with daily traffic, but a proposed church would produce traffic on only select days of the week. It's a pretty less intensive use of the property, considering what the zoning is. The proposed development meets the standards of the PCD, with drainage being the largest concern amongst residents in the area. Upon review of the initial project drainage and detention proposed, these worries can be alleviated. A more refined drainage system and approval will follow alongside full civil plan submittal and review for a commercial building permit. The applicant's proposed treatment along the perimeter, once built, should protect the neighboring residential properties from the parking lots via privacy fencing and natural landscaping. The proposed development as submitted aligns with other similar developments in the area, and with addition of sidewalks along Audubon will allow residents to safely walk along the road and into the area, and with the addition, and into the development, as well as continue walking on pedestrian paths towards the town center area with the new connection. This project is contingent on the approval of the land use amendment, currently now going to be on the third reading at the city council, and that was previously approved by the planning commission in September. Some comments. The city engineer gave preliminary approval to the drainage proposed. Main issue, they proposed installing a grate lid instead of a solid lid on drainage structure located on the west side of the detention. Get to the next one. Fire hydrants to be placed at the 2 inches into the development due to the spacing. Permits, a single handicap parking spot on the east side is adjacent to stairs with no ramp. This will need to be moved to the north or west. That has been corrected on the new plans. You see utility comments from CAW and North Little Rock Wastewater. No comments have been received from Summit, AT&T, or Entergy at the time, and we still have not received any. The main concerns from city planning, they have been corrected. The biggest issue on PCDs, when they're adjacent to residential properties, requires additional land, not additional land, but more intensive landscaping and privacy. Spoke with the applicant on both of these issues, particularly on the east side that faces Hannah Loop. And one of the things we asked for, instead of having the landscaping at the property line, was bringing it up onto the berm. I guess it'd be more of a berm or the swell for better blocking of lights, as it is a little bit higher up. And then also on the loop court side, which would be the south side, doing the same thing, pushing the privacy fence and landscaping up towards the parking lot and raising it and be raised up. That is the easier way, as our city ordinance only allows privacy fences to be 6 foot. 8-foot fence probably would have rectified it being lower, but that would have been another variance, and it is not allowed by our ordinance anyways. But they have corrected that on this, and the staff is recommending approval of the preliminary development plan as it do pass to the city council. And that's all I have for the development plan.
Discussion? See none, Chair will entertain a motion.
I move a do pass recommendation to the Maumelle City Council of subdivision 24-15 Church of Maumelle preliminary development plan contingent on further staff planning, commissioner, city engineer comments.
Very good, sir. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? The motion is on the floor for action. Seeing none, we'll now act on the proposed preliminary development plan for the Church of Maumelle, for the Church of Maumelle, for the Church of Maumelle, for SUB 24-15. All those in favor say yes.
Yes.
All those opposed, no. Motion carries for Assembly Development Plan. Next item is the proposed landscape plan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm gonna pull up the landscape plan. As you see, it is a pretty robust landscape plan. They have followed the ordinance to a T, trees every 30 feet, landscaping along the parking lot. As you'll notice, on the southern side that faces Loop Court is where they did move it up. I apologize, they have not moved it up on this Hannah Loop side, and that may be okay. I'll let the applicant discuss if needed. That is where the swells, the drainage swell is coming through, and then also you have your detention pond in this southeast corner. With that said, they have met all requirements of our landscape plan. Irrigation will be in there as they work with the contractors. The trees are nicely spaced. They did provide an entry also off of the sidewalk mid-block, and they have met all, again, they've met all the requirements of the landscape plan, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you, Jason.
Just a quick question, and I hope it wasn't on, I should have stated this under the development plan, but I guess I noted it on the landscape plan. So the pole lighting, and we've done this for other communities or residential areas abutting parking lots, so that lighting will not affect the residential area when it is on. Or maybe it'll benefit, I don't, sometimes they want that additional lighting in the back, just so it's not interfering with their life, their sleep patterns.
Typically,
You need to state your name, Josh.
Josh Minton, I'm the civil engineer on this project, but typically for these projects, it's all screened, they're all LED lights, which are easier to direct, and they've got screens on the side of the heads, and it's really just pointed down at the parking lot, and we try to avoid any kind of trespass.
I think code's 25-foot minimum height, so there's some code
Well,
requirements.
actually, the maximum height is 18 feet.
Okay.
18 feet, and our code also says all lights must be downward and shrouded.
Right.
And then
Okay.
And
cut off at dark.
I know we haven't developed a lighting plan for this yet. Something small like this, they try to use wall packs as much as possible on the building and avoid, and you may be able to avoid any parking lot lights for something like this because it's kind of surrounded around the building.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other discussion or questions, staff or the applicant?
Some Commissioner. Commissioner Wink and I went to the public meeting on this. Their biggest concern was the drainage, and from the stormwater management report on it, it's actually going to drain much better, and that with the retention pond, the anticipated 100-year storm is 4,900 cubic feet. Their retention pond will hold 8,300 cubic feet. So I just want to note, actually, the applicant did a wonderful job of improving drainage, and I think it's going to be a win-win for the residents in Carnahan. So
Good.
I'd just like to thank them for that.
You bet. Seeing no further discussion, the chair will entertain a motion for the proposed landscape plan of the Church of Maumelle.
I propose,
It stays with us.
I'm sorry, okay, so I make recommendation that we
We approve it.
approve it. Sub
Second.
24-15 landscape plan.
Very good.
Second.
Okay, here first, second. Any further discussion, questions before acting on the motion? All those for the proposed landscape plan of the Church of Maumelle SUB 2415 indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. Motion carries and it is approved for the proposed landscape plan. The next item for action is the proposed commercial building design.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, as you also saw in your packet, the elevations for the proposed church, it does have to be in a PCD. Even though it is a church, it is commercial building design. The applicant has met all the issues that were needed to meet for commercial building design. It is somewhat of split level. I can let the applicant discuss that. But it meets all the requirements of primary, the fascias, everything meets our standards, and we recommend approval.
Any other question? Yes, sir, Counselor.
It notes that there's a bell tower. Is there a bell in the bell tower?
That's really a question for the architect. I think that's traditional with this type of church. And the bell tower is actually on a separate phase, so it wouldn't be included on phase one. Phase one's just gonna be the L shape, which is actually gonna be 2 stories. And then the future phases will be a wing kind of on the west side and on the north side, which is where the bell tower will be located. So there's still a lot of stuff to work out on this and figure out. We're really just trying to play out to see, can they buy this property, and then also can they afford to build this church here. So.
Okay. Thanks, sir.
So we have, does code not permit a bell in the tower? Okay, I was,
But it wasn't
noise
brought in.
ordinance or exceeding
I was
some
expecting
decimal
to see
level?
it, so.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can find out for you though.
I thought there was a point there for your inquiry.
Point is that some of this may adjust a little bit as we get closer into the development.
Okay, very good. Any other questions? Okay. Chair entertain a motion for approval of the commercial building design.
I move to approve subdivision 24-15, Church of Maumelle preliminary development plan, proposed commercial building design.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Hearing the first and second, we will now act on the proposed commercial building design for SUB 24-15. Any further discussion before acting on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the proposed commercial building design for SUB 24-15 Church of Maumelle indicate by saying yes.
Yes.
All opposed, no. The motion carries and you're approved. Thanks for coming, Josh. Okay, we're going to close public hearing and city council liaison reports. I did scour a little bit of Mr. Ramsey's responsibility, and I'll work through this. So the only thing I asked for, I didn't look at the minutes, was the resolution for the site plan energy was conditional use, right? It was approved, and we discussed that again tonight. So there'll be no further action regarding that development that we would know of unless something changes. Other than that, we've had, I'm gonna have to zoom in here a little bit. I did look through this. So we have, unless we had anything, did we?
You had the first reading of the Mayberry rezoning.
Yeah, Mayberry rezoning, that's what I was trying to look at here. That's it. It was nothing of it. There was no action, per se, so, regarding planning commission items.
First readings.
Next month is Commissioner Ray, and, who's absent tonight, and then, Commissioner Jones has November 18th, 2024, so it's 4th and 18th. That's correctly reflected? Did they move their dates around as well?
No, those are
Those are good.
the first and third.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Any other thing? Not? Chair entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'm sorry, I have one thing.
Sir?
Mr. Line reminded me that Mr. Ramsey was secretary, so we'll need to elect a new secretary.
You sent me an email on this. Okay.
If you,
Well,
if you want, we can add it to the agenda for next month if you prefer. I mean, I
only
don't,
if it's acceptable to our.
right.
So, well, but I would like for the opportunity, I don't know what Fourth brings a little bit, so I don't know, this person may want to be, somebody else may want to be secretary. What's the pleasure of the commission? You want to handle this tonight, or you want to do it next month?
I would say wait.
Wait.
Okay, that was kind of the same way. I wasn't ignoring the email that you sent, I was letting them not to take action. I'd requested a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Here, second.
Second.
First and second, all